So, we will start now. So, this session is kind of informal, where we will primarily talk about what we are going to cover, what is the course content, and everyday schedule, everything we are going to talk about. And say in the inauguration session, I did not talk more about Professor Mishra, so I will talk about his profile and all, right, just to make you aware about the entire thing. Okay. So, as you know that this course is going to happen for 10 to 21 March, 2 weeks, this Monday to Friday, next week Monday to Friday, Saturday, Sunday is holidays, and this course instructor I am Chandan, and Professor Mishra from University of Florida, US. He will be the lead instructor, and he is going to talk about 80% of the course content, right. I will just cover few of the topic. Okay. So, I must introduce Professor Mishra. So, he is now the US Research Foundation Professor at University of Florida. He also leading the CISI Embedded System Lab. His research interests include embedded system, design automation, hardware security, energy hour computing, formal verification, system on chip verification, validation, machine learning and quantum computing. So, sir has completed his PhD in 2004 from University of California, Irvine, and this is the year where happens to I completed my BTech. Okay. So, sir, Professor Mishra has published 9 books, 35 book chapters, 23 patents, more than 200 research articles in top tier venues. As I mentioned, we should not publish in junk conference and journal, because it actually create negative, it just add negative value to our profile effectively. So, he also have NSF Career Award from National Science Foundation, IBM Faculty Award, 3 Best Paper Award, ISQD 16, VLSID 11 and CODES ICS 2003, and this year he is the TPC chair of the same conference. 8 best paper nominations, ASP DAC 2023, date 19, ASP DAC 17, NanoArc 13, VLSID 13, date 12, DAC 2009, VLSID 2009. And I can see most of the conference are the top tier, right. So, DAC this year I think 2500 papers submitted, only 200 odd accepted, right. This is how competitive those conferences are. Professor Mishra also has this EDA Outstanding Dissertation Award from the European Design Automation Association. He also received Doctoral Dissertation Mentoring Award and International Educator Award from the University of Florida, I think this year in February. So, congratulations sir again. And he has lot of projects, right. So, every time I got at least once in a year I got an email from sir that do you have a good student, can you recommend one good student to my project, I have this $1 million funding from NSF or this and that. So, he has lot of funding, and he I think got many students from IITs. So, and he already involved with lot of government agencies like NSF, AFRL, ARO and DARPA, and industry like SRC, Semiconductor Research Corporation, Intel, Cisco, Harris, IBM, I mean almost every companies, right. And he is fellow of American Association of Advance of Science and fellow of IEEE. So, if I try to keep speaking about his profile, probably I need 1 hour. So, I will not elongate it further. I was seeing his website and just copy few of the points from there, it is a long list. So, welcome sir to IIT Guwahati once again. So, I will talk little bit about me and my research group, because this is an opportunity for me to also give a publicity of my research as well as my students, whatever they are doing in this institute. So, I did PhD from IIT Kharagpur in 2011, BTech in 2004, then MS and PhD from IIT Kharagpur, and then I joined Synopsys India, which is a EDA company, electronic design automation company, where I worked for 5 years, and 2016 I come back to IIT Guwahati as a faculty member, and since then I am going to retire from here. So, I will be another I think 22 years or 23 years here. So, we primarily, my research group, I actually lead the lab called AVS lab here, Automation Verification and Security Lab, which primarily focus on formal verification, compiler security, hardware security, electronic design automation and machine learning for EDA. We have some awards as well. So, some awards come like this time I got this Google India Research Award and Google Silicon Research Award this year. Also I got Qualcomm Faculty Award in 2021. I am and some other funding, but everything because of my students, right. So, because of their contribution we are getting some recognition. So, these are the two teaching assistant. I think you already got multiple email from both Ishwar and Praveen Karmakar. Both are my PhD students. Praveen is a senior PhD student and Ishwar just joined with me. Both of them is going to work in the similar area. So, I asked them to also join in this course as a TA, teaching assistant, as well as a student, right. So, Praveen works mainly on this hardware security side, on the IP piracy and all, how do you make your design protected against IP piracies and all. Ishwar is going to work on this machine learning security, what Professor Nandi was talking about at the start of the things, right. So, we are going to cover one session which would be the kind of work Ishwar is doing, and there will be one complete day where I am to talk about what Praveen is doing here. Okay. So, so the Praveen part I will talk about this logic clocking and how do you basically protect your design, so that people cannot copy your design, right. So, the main problem happen in that domain is like if you try to have a design which is a intellectual property and somebody can steal it, right, when you give for fabrications or in the entire design cycle. So, it is kind of you lock your design and give it to somebody, so that you give the design, but they cannot unlock and use it, right. So, something like this. So, a lot of research is going on that direction, I will talk about that, and Ishwar is going to happen on this how to try to implement the machine learning model in for in the edge and IoT computing devices. So, where you try to have a, it is not that you are running your machine learning model in cloud, rather you have a dedicated chip which is called hardware accelerator of machine learning. Okay. And then whenever you have this, the security, right. So, nowadays lot of work is being going on, lot of research, lot of interest, that you try to attack this machine learning model running on the edge or IoT devices, and Professor Mishra will talk about lot of such attack techniques, how do you kind of find out the backdoor of the designs, and through backdoors basically for the machine learning model you can get the weights and all, right. So, he is working on that. I will in one session I am going to talk about the machine learning security, right, that will be on Wednesday. So, as I mentioned, this is the lab. Please feel free to visit my lab in just adjacent building, top floor, and you can ask Praveen or Ishwar to take you. You can talk to other student as well. So, I have 7 PhD students currently, and recently my focus is on cyber security, and this I can tell you honestly, this course was proposed 1.5 year back, right. So, that time I was trying to think about, I also move into this domain. There are a lot of I was actively moving into this domain. So, I thought it is not why, I mean, as a student me, I can also learn from Professor Mishra, and that can be a golden opportunity inviting him here and ask him to speak here, so that I can also learn from him, and that was my motivation to offer this course honestly, and then it goes a long way and now we are here. So, we have students where Nilatpala also works on hardware security, Praveen I talked about, Bhavesh and Akash work on ML for EDA, and they have just joined. So, they have not started their research yet. So, we have a big group. So, we have quite few MTech students. So, these are for 1 year project, right, masters and PhD students. So, this year I have 6 MTech students who are working on either this security or EDA, and I have 11 BTech students who also work with me. So, I have kind of a quite big group, and we have quite good publications nowadays. These are the areas, and if you have to get more information, you can visit my website, you can get more information about my research, and Dr. Sukanta also is an active member of this group. Little bit about more that, so we get lot of funding nowadays from industry, and I want to highlight the specifically in this slide the good things doing by my student, right. So, forget about the first two bullets. So, we get lot of funding from industry. Praveen got Qualcomm Innovation Fellowship this year, I mean 2024 we have the project which so Qualcomm is supporting his research. Priyanka who work on compiler security, which is another topic I am going to cover in this course. She also got fellowship from Qualcomm. We got 2 times fund from Intel. Again, this is kind of fellowship to my students. One time from Samsung, and there is one logic locking competition. I want to highlight this one also. It's basically on this logic locking what Praveen is working, that they give you challenge, that they give you lock design and they ask you to break with any techniques, right. And it's a worldwide competition, so in which happened for 3 years, and each year we participated, and first year we got the 3rd place, and the next year we got the 2nd place, and then we got the 1st place in the last year. So, we basically improving, you can see, right. So, in an international level also our work is getting recognized, and we are able to break circuits there which has more than 10,000 keys. I mean, Praveen has break certain circuit which is locked with 10,000 keys, and you are able to break it, right, without any other external support. Our work, we try to do good research. So, if you see the last 4 years department based MTech thesis 3 times got from my group, right. So, people are doing good work, even from my MTech students. I think 2 point is missing there. This year I got 2 best paper nomination, both are Nilothpala's work, one in cases where 3 paper got nominated, unfortunately you do not get the best paper, and also VLSID, there also we got the best paper nomination, both are Nilothpala's paper, and also we got this best paper nomination in another conference in a hardware security conference called Asian Host in 2020. So, this kind of summary of achievement of my student, this is a good platform to highlight my students achievements. So, we as sir motivates us, we usually publish in top tier venues. I usually do not publish in XYZ conference. So, these are the kind of top venues are used to publish. As I mentioned, we have funding from industry as well as government. I have already worked with Intel, where I am working with Qualcomm, I am now working with Google, 2 project funding is happening there. Siemens, specifically Mentor Graphics, Texas Instrumentation on this hardware security side, and they are interested on low overhead hardware secure design, IBM as well as Semiconductor Research Corporation, and we also get government funding like IIT Guwahati give me some startup grant, then 3 funding from ACRB. One of our focus nowadays, we try to make our research accessible to the community. We try to decided now any good work we are doing nowadays, we try to make them available to the community. So, we try to make our research open source. So, many of the recent work last 2-3 years, we make this work available to the community through GitHub. So, this is the detail of funding which you can skip. So, I will now talk about the course. I just take few minutes to give my advertisement to my group, my research. So, as you mentioned, it's a 2-week course, it's a bit long. So, every day we have 4 hours of lectures, okay, lectures or tutorial, whatever you call, it's kind of lectures you can say. So, this week we have 10 to 14 March, and then next week 17 to 21st March, Saturday, Sunday we will not have any classes. And timing, the way we did it, like so today it was bit early start, so to have this inauguration seminar ceremony, but we usually have 10 to 11 one lecture, and then we have half an hour break 11 to 11:30, then 11:30 to 12:30 we will have the next lecture, and then we have a lunch break of 1.5 hours. We do not able to arrange lunch for every student for all 10 days, that much funding I was not having. So, you have to take food, I mean either hostels or there are a lot of canteens. So, you can take help from Praveen, but we will and then in the lunch break we will again start from 2 to 3 the lecture 3, and then again we have 30 minutes break, and then we have last lecture from 3:30 to 4:30. So, that will be the schedule for every day, and we are going to provide you tea and some high tea, I would say, both the break. So, that's kind of good platform where you can discuss yourselves with us and all, right. So, that's the overall timing. So, I will now talk about more about this course. I think sir will give you more highlight about the course in the next lecture. It is basically explainable AI for cyber security, right. So, it is basically how do you how your system or your computer or your electronic system is vulnerable through it's through your cyber way, right. It can be connected, it can be attacked by somebody else, right. So, And usually what happen, or this kind of attack happen when you have backdoors, right. So, that means you have kept your, if you locked your room properly and nobody can go inside, then nobody can break your go inside your room. So, same thing goes for your systems or this, right. So, if you have backdoors, people identify the backdoor and through that they enter and do the damage for you, right. And this so, as sir mentioned earlier, so we try to give you what are the kind of backdoors first, right. So, what are the way people can actually go into your system, right. So, it can be the how do you implement your hardware. So, that falls under hardware security, that there may be some way you have implemented, so that there is a leakage through power or maybe timing. So, that through that they can guess the internal of your circuits. It can be system level, for how do you actually access your cache, how do you basically you manage your memories and all. From there people can try to get into your system. It may be how do you compile your program into system. So, the compiler may not be safe. So, that is basically on compiler side. So, there can be anywhere, right. It can be hardware, it can be firmware, it can be software. I mean everything you have to be very, very careful how do you design it, right. And we will basically cover first half of the course was those aspects. So, today is kind of giving the overview, right. But usually we will try to cover what are the kind of attacks, what are the backdoors you have, and how do you basically design or can you, I mean how people can actually utilize those backdoor to attack your system, right. And then the second part is explainable AI. So, nowadays AI has application in every domain. So, we will try to cover what is the techniques of machine learning or artificial intelligence and how people can use those techniques to identify the backdoors, right. You basically identify, and if you know that these are the weakness of my system, you can protect, right. If you do not aware of what are the weakness you have the implementation, you will not be able to protect, right. So, many time this AI can actually help you to easily identify the weakness, right. So, for example, I can give you small example of hardware trojan. So, if you think about a design which has maybe 1 billion transistors and maybe only 200 transistor, 300 transistor being used to add some vulnerability to your design. So, that through which somebody can it can actually make lot of changes to design. It make your clock 100 times slower, or it may just change your control path in your design, so that it started malfunctioning, but it is that small component of your design, right. So, verifying or identifying those trojan, even if, and that is not you inserted, right, somebody in the supply chain have inserted that in your design. It is very, very difficult to identify those hardware trojan manually or some formal techniques and all, right. So, AI can identify those pattern, right, those particular trojan specifically have some pattern, right. So, if this AI can easily identify many such unknown kind of patterns, and you can identify the trojan, right. This is just one example, it can be used for everything. So, what sir will cover is try to see the state of the art research, how basically AI can help you in identifying the vulnerabilities in your systems, in your softwares, and then obviously how do you protect, right. So, that is the third part of the course, where we try to talk about that how do you basically add protection in your implementation, so that those attack is not possible, right. So, that will be the overall idea of the course. So, I will now kind of formally introduce the course content. So, we are basically this introduction I am talking about. Then today the second lecture Professor Mishra will talk about this cyber security landscape for computer systems. So, he will talk about all this software, firmware as well as the hardware vulnerabilities as I talked about, and then this is give some example of recent security attacks today before lunch. And we have two back-to-back sessions today, because my session is bit lightweight, right, there is not technical content here, right. And then second half it is for second half we have two lectures. So, first sir will talk about this basic machine learning techniques, and then basically the entire session is on taking about all the machine learning technique. It has a lot of progress in the machine learning techniques, basically reinforcement learning, neural network, generative adversarial network, and so many things, right. So, sir will cover the basic machine learning fundamentals in the second half today. Okay. Going to the day 2. So, we have that hardware acceleration of explainable AI. So, that is what I think Professor Nandi was also talking about in the start of the session, that we should also think about how do you help, this hardware can help in the machine learning model, right. So, basically he will talk about this hardware accelerator using FPGA, it can be using GPU, TPUs and all those stuff, right. So, that will be in the first 1 hour, first tomorrow morning 2 hours we will talk about all these details. Second half tomorrow we will talk about this malicious software, right, the vulnerabilities in the software. So, malware, ransomware attacks, I think you are all aware of these attacks, antivirus software solutions, and the second lecture sir will cover about this malware detection using explainable AI, right. So, we introduce first the vulnerabilities and then we see how AI can help you to detect those, right. This is how the kind of things was planned. Day 3. So, day 3 I will be talking about. So, I will first talk about this power side channel secure design. So, so this is more on hardware side. So, when you have a hardware implementation, there can be some side channel, right. What is side channel? Is basically the system that hardware is running, but you give some input, it will give you some output, but in addition to that there are some other extra information you can extract when running on a specific input, right. And it can be power, it can be timing and any other things. So, power side channel is one of the powerful techniques to specifically for cryptographic implementation. You try to get out the key, right, when the things are running in your in a say FPGA board or in a ASIC chip, you just measure the power. You remember that attacker does not have the key, but he can control what input he want to run, right. So, he can just control what input is running or the sequence of input, and then the difference in power, they will make the proportion. It is kind of you have say A equal to B plus C, right. You know what is A and what is C, you do not know only B, right. So, you can control your C and you get the output, and from that you can identify what is B, right. So, it is a similar analogy effectively. So, people can control your input and then you can actually measure the power and you can get it. So, what we do here nowadays is basically how do you develop your design automatically from even a software implementation of AES or say DES, right. You have a C code for AES and DES, how do you generate a power side channel secure hardware from there, right. So, that is one of the research of us, and I will talk about mostly on that part, right, in the first lecture, where I will talk about how you can effectively automatically generate those hardware, right. You do not need to effectively think about the internal details. So, the tool, what are the things you need to take care inside the tool, so that it can generate you the actual power side channel secure hardware, right. So, that will be the first lecture from my side in first 2 hours, and then the second half, first lecture I will talk about the secure compilation. So, where we basically show you that compiler can actually cannot trust the compiler, right. So, we usually when you write a C program, you use GCC to compile, right. We will show you that GCC is not safe, it can introduce lot of leakage in your program, right. So, through that leakage, information leakage, people can actually get the internal information of your implementation, right. So, we will talk about the secure compilation, we will see how we can actually detect, how do you quantify the information leakage of a program, and there are method how do you identify or verify the information leakage in a program. So, effectively if you give a source program and you compile it through say GCC, you have the optimized program, how do you compare whether this is more secure or this is less secure than the original one, right. So, I will talk about those techniques, and then the second half I will talk about the security of machine learning model as I talked about, which Ishwar is working. So, we will see that what are the way you can actually break the machine learning model, and we will talk about 2 techniques which can actually break not the big models, but the medium size model easily, right. It is running either through scan chain or side channel, they can get the weights and biases, right. I will talk about them, and then we will talk about some protection on which we are working here. So, that I will talk about. Then in day 4, so it is again by Professor Misra. So, in which he will talk about this assertion based security verification. So, generation of security assertion, test generation for activating assertions, dynamic refinement of the assertions, and formal security verification. So, formal security verification. So, I will talk about what is assertions, is basically the properties, right. So, you have a implementation, you guarantee that at this point this cannot be true, or this must be always false, and so on, right, or if this happen within 2 cycles something must be on, and so on, right. So, there are those are called assertions, And whenever somebody designs the design, I mean make the design, they also know what are the correctness properties. It can be functional correctness, or you can have also properties for security verification, right. So, what sir will talk about that, how do you generate those properties, what are the way you can improve those assertions, and then how do you verify those assertions, right. So, these are the kind of things sir will cover enter on day 4. Day 5, the Trojan that I talked about, the hardware Trojan is one of the most researched area, I would say, in which people talk about, and it's a reality. There are a lot of instances people have identified Trojans in the chip, right. So, we will talk about sir will talk about what is hardware Trojan, then how do you basically design those Trojan, and then how do you detect those, right, using statistical technique, then side channels, and probably sir will also cover on this AI technique for this hardware Trojan detection, right. So, the day 5 give to Trojans only, right. So, either what is there, I mean how do you detect them using standard technique like statistical state generation, which maybe sir first PhD student has done. I think Konad has done work on that, right. And then this power side channel analysis as well as the AI techniques, right. So, that will be the day 5 content. And then day 6 we have I am going to talk about this day 6. Here I will talk about this IP piracy and protection, which I was talking about, this logic locking, and we will talk about different kind of logic locking technique, their obfuscation and then attacks. So, it is going to be so lot of, again this is kind of last 7-8 years active domain, right. A lot of people are working on that. So, I will talk about in which level you can protect your design and what are the low overhead techniques which is more difficult to break, and it is kind of cat and mouse game, right. Some people come up with some protection technique, within 6 months somebody come up with some techniques to break it, right. And that this break techniques can be lot of way, right. It can be again formal techniques, the way where we work, Praveen works on this SAT based attack. So, you try to model the attack problem as a satisfactory problem, and then you try to use the theorem provers to solve it, and if through the theorem proving you can actually get the keys, right. So, this can be one of techniques. There can be structural analysis, you know that the locking has this structure. So, you try to take the advantage of the structure of the implementation and try to break it, or it can be machine learning based techniques. So, we will talk about all those things in this session. Okay. And if time permits, as Nandi sir was talking about LLM, the large language model for assertions and all. So, if time permits, probably I will try to add one session where I try to, we also work nowadays LLM for assertion generation. So, maybe I will try to incorporate that in the suggestion from Professor Nandi, that how you can use LLM to generate assertions for your verification, right. So, that I will see if we can adjust the day's schedule. Day 7 sir will talk about this microarchitectural attack. So, this cache timing attack, Spectre meltdown, these are the very popular attacks, right. And then this load forwarding attack on AMD processor, these are all basically on the system level, right. You have a processor and some things are running on that. From the cache timing or how you are basically replace the cache replacement, from there you can actually extract information and you can actually do the attack. And then second half I will talk about how do you use explainable AI to this kind of attack, how do you detect through AI, right, explainable AI. And then also this adversarial machine learning, where we try to set. So, I think this is, I think we are almost covering what Nandi sir was suggesting, that how do you basically attack on machine learning algorithms or this Trojan attack and defenses on the machine learning algorithm. I think we are good to go, the syllabus has already incorporated those suggestions. Then day 8 we will talk about the various cryptographic libraries, where we try to talk about this design of software and hardware cryptographic modules, how do you implement them, AES, RSA, you probably know all those techniques, and detection and mitigation of security vulnerabilities of the cryptographic libraries. So, that we will talk about. Then lecture 9, where we talk about this information leakage assessment of cryptographic instructions. So, this is there are techniques like TVLA, this where through which you can actually do this kind of task. So, we will talk about this how do you implement the RISC-V processor and how do you do the leakage assessment of this RISC-V processors. Then this is the TVLA, test vector leakage assessment of the cryptographic algorithm, and basically just do some statistical leak assessment. You can actually identify the cryptographic implementation vulnerabilities of the cryptographic algorithms, right. So, this we will talk about in day 8. Day 9 is basically on NOC. So, entire day it is on the network on chip. So, you basically nowadays nothing is a single system, right. You have network of chips connected together to build a entire systems, and sir will talk about how do basically what are the security vulnerabilities on NOCs and how do effectively detect those, and again this attack detection with machine learning, how can you detect those things, and obviously sir will also talk about is that how do you make this NOC secure, right. So, this is the day where we will invest on network level, right. And day 10 we have this application specific security, the trusted execution environment. This is another very important topic, and context switching of security enclaves and security of classical quantum system, right. So, sir will cover all the recent things, right, whatever the state of the things is happening nowadays, and then we will talk about the future research directions or future direction of this AI enabled cyber security. So, where we are going ahead and what will be the next 5 years landscapes of research in this domain. And then we will have one interaction session. I kept it kind of informal, where we will basically discuss your suggestions, whatever questions you have. So, we will make it really interactive session. We will summarize the course and we will talk about the course and all those things we have covered in the long 10 days. And finally, we have an option for test. So, if somebody need I think this GAN course be converted into some credit for your courses, right, specifically for the students. So, if you are interested to give this test, please let us know by this week, right, because we have to set the question also, right, we have not set it. So, anybody interested please let us know, and also if you are interested to know what is the benefits of giving the test, I can tell you the test will be very simple. Okay. Everybody will get good grade. Okay. So, that will guarantee. So, only thing is that if it is useful for you, please get in touch with the CET people or maybe Provin. So, we will tell you what is the advantage of doing that, and please let us know by this week, so that we will set the questions and will come. And then we have this certificates distributions and all kind of concluding, right. So, this is how we have planned the entire 10 days. It is a packed schedule. The 4 hours teaching in a day is difficult, right. Some of you are teacher, you know that teaching 4 hours continuously is difficult, right, and sir will talk the same thing for 8 days. It is a huge effort from Professor Misra. Please try to reciprocate the energy sir has bring, right, and try to make the things useful for you, and I am going to also learn. So, I am also take this course an opportunity to learn from sir. Okay. So, I will be here for most of the sessions except few sessions where I have to take class in IIT Guwahati, otherwise I will be here, and hopefully it will be a very learning experience for all of us. Okay. So, with this I will just conclude this session. This is just to give you the more information about the course content and all. So, we can have some few questions. So, if any questions we can discuss, otherwise we will conclude, and then we will again 10 minutes break, and then sir will start the next session. Any questions from anybody? Anything from online side? So, you came all across. I have seen some people came from Gujarat, somebody from South, somebody from Dehradun. I mean, you come this far, right, to attend this course. Please utilize this time you are going to spend in IIT Guwahati. See what are the facility we have here. You may encourage, you may not be the person, but you can encourage your students, some others to come to IIT Guwahati. It is a beautiful place. It is one of the best campus in India, and sir has certified that. Sir has visited maybe 50 institute, and sir has certified this is one of the best campus I have ever visited. And we have beautiful facilities here, and it's now a maturity institute, right, 30 years old now, and we have lots of new department, lot of centers are coming also. We have now data science department, we have cyber physical system center, we have now health science centers. So, we have so many things, right. I will encourage you people to visit or basically go to our website, see if you have something match with your interest, meet the professor, right. So, this is one of the advantage of coming to places, right. And still now say we spend so much of money to visit for a conference, right. A conference talk is giving you only 15-minute slots, right, but we still visit, right. We still go to conferences even in US, UK just to meet people, right, make the collaboration happen. So, this can be a good opportunity. If you are interested to talk to any professor in IIT Guwahati, you can just go visit him, just take an appointment, talk to him, or if you want to visit to any specific lab. So, all these opportunities there, right. You will be here for 12 days, it is a long 12 days, right. So, make utilize of that particular opportunity, and obviously feel free to interact with Professor Misra, take his suggestion, his advice in your research, whatever you are doing. Okay. So, that is all from my side. Anything we can address, any questions you have, anything about the course content, anything we can discuss. If nothing, then thank you again all of you. So, we will have, it is now, we will maybe go ahead with the timing, right. So, maybe we will start at 11:30. So, you can take this 20 minutes break and come back at 11:30 here. Okay. So, we will start at 11:30.